I like to say, anyone that comes up to my line dressed as any character from any show that I've done, I like to put on Facebook. And then I string all those together, and then at the end of that, at the end of that, I like to give them a round of applause. This is where you guys are. So when I say action, if you guys can just raise your arms, scream like your team just won the World Series. Okay. Action. I know you're famous. I like to say, this is awesome. They tagged this. That is so funny. I went to a convention once and someone had tagged a Harry Potter wand. So I like to say, you guys can ask me anything that you want. I am shameless. If you want to try to embarrass me, bring it. It doesn't really work. I don't necessarily promise to answer anything that comes to mind to you, but you guys can, whatever you guys want to know, let's talk about it. And I like to throw it to the house right away. Let's start on the side.
Hi, James.
Hey.
I wanted you to tell us a little bit about your brand new project that you have out with your friend Mark.
Oh, yeah.
The Vidiots.
Yeah.
And maybe if you could tell us just a little bit, in addition to describing what it is, about what you're hoping to get from doing it and the whys and the positives about it.
Yeah. Vidiots is an online show that I'm producing with my buddy Mark Devine. Mark is the funniest guy I have ever hung out with in my life. And if you come to the table, you've met Mark. So he helps me, he's been helping me at conventions for years. And after a convention, we like to go back to the hotel room and game. And Mark is, like I said, super funny, but he's also the worst video gamer I've ever
Well, that's me.
Really, really bad. And it's really hilarious to watch him die. And we were playing, and I was thinking, you know when you get stuck on a level when you're gaming, and you go to YouTube and you watch one of these channels of the person in video gaming, and it's always kind of the same. The person is insanely good at video gaming, and then they crack jokes and they're not funny. So they succeed on gaming, but they fail at the comedy. And I thought, wouldn't it be kind of cool to flip that and watch people be really horrible at gaming, but be funny as they get slaughtered? And so we started doing that, and it was working really well. And we were in Paris, and we were filming an episode of Assassin's Creed Unity, which takes place in Paris. And it's a beautiful spring Paris day, French day, and we have the curtains drawn, and we're gaming. And I like peek with the curtains there, and it's beautiful out there. I was like, you know, Mark, we're idiots. We're in Paris, pretending to be in Paris. It's ridiculous. Let's go out and meet people. So we went out on the street, and because I thought we were being idiots that day, I thought, you know, that's a good idea for the show, like video game idiots, because we travel the world first class. We're in 4-star hotels. We have celebrity friends. I play rock concerts, make movies, and all I really want to do is video game. And that is insanely stupid. So we do video games. Sometimes it's just Mark and me. Sometimes it's with another celebrity we cut in as a guest. But we're always traveling the world, and we're always stupid. So we're all, walking around Paris. We don't get it. We're always doing something really insanely silly. So if you want to check it out, it's on Amazon and Vimeo right now. And you can get little tasters and teasers, free stuff on YouTube. And it's really cool. And you can get a subscription at my table for cheap.
Hi, my name's Taylor, and I really liked the Buffy show. And one of my favorite episodes is the musical episode. So I was wondering if you guys actually had as much fun performing that episode as we did watching it.
No. We were terrified. We thought Joss had gone crazy. We thought that he was flushing a perfectly good television show down the drain. We were like, we're jumping the shark, man. Like Tony Head and I, we had already sung publicly. I was in a band and Tony was cutting albums and stuff, so we were okay with singing. We just didn't think Joss could necessarily write. music. But the rest of the cast, they had a really good argument for Joss. They were like, you hired me to be a one-camera dramatic / comedic actor. And now you're making me sing. Like, you're ruining my career, Joss. You know? And one of the cast members actually went to him and said, could I please juggle chainsaws instead? That would be better for my career if I cut my hands off. So we had no faith in it at all. He knew that we were nervous, and so he cut the first scene that he filmed was the Xander dance with Anya, that one, and he wheeled out his little television onto the sound stage, and he fired it up, and we saw what it was going to actually be wonderful. And suddenly we were like, oh my God, it's going to be great! So we went from abject terror to elation. By the end of it, we were so happy we were flying, thinking like, we're really good at this. And then the last thing we filmed was with Hilton Battle, who was a Tony Award-winning musical theater actor from Broadway. He played the Sweet, the demon. And he's like, really good. And we're just watching him at the Bronze, and we're all standing there going, oh no. That's how you do it. Oh God, we're screwed. But it's my favorite episode actually, because it, in the face of what we thought was certain doom, we decided to stop complaining at one point, and stop trying to get out of it, and decided to really try our best. Even though we thought we were definitely going to fail, we decided to go out swimming. And I was really proud of us as a company. Eddie.
Hi, James. Okay, so I gotta know, who's the better kisser, Sarah Michelle Gellar or John Barrowman?
Do you want the answer that you want, or do you want like reality? The truth? I don't know. Like, film kissing is not kissing.
Right.
It's very technical. Like a glamorous image, like glamour means lie. It means illusion, literally. And so whenever you see a glamorous image, it's further from the truth than life. And so the more glamorous the image, the more work it takes to create that image. And so, like it's like when you're doing an overshot, and they're filming over your shoulder onto the face of the person that they actually want to watch. Your job as an actor is don't get in the light of the other actor. So when you're doing your acting thing, you actually got to stop doing your acting thing and just kind of stand there and let them, do their thing. And it gets harder the closer your face is to the other face, the easier it is to corrupt the light. So when you're going in for a kiss, it gets like millimeters. So it would be like, action. Oh, Buffy, I love you. Come here, baby. James, no. Can you move your head slightly? Okay. Too much. That's right. Okay, now go in. Cut. So it's very, very, very technical. So I don't know.
You can make people happy and just say one of them if you wanted to.
Well, what I will say is this. I learned something the day that I did Torchwood, which is that women like to see some guys kiss. I had no idea. I knew the opposite was definitely, I knew that. But my fiance was on the set, and she was having a really good day. She was in a really good mood, and now we've been married for like 8 years, and I think maybe I should invite John over again. Yeah. You're welcome. So.
Hi, my name's Jennifer. It's nice to see you in person.
It's good to
I'm a
see
big fan.
You have an awesome bow.
Oh, thank you. Made it myself. Well, I was going to ask a question, but I thought of a different one. My question is, do you have a specific type of role that you prefer, such as like, do you prefer comedy or something more serious like Shakespeare, historical, drama?
Yeah, no.
No? You like them all?
Yeah, I just like good writing, I will say, I like villains. Villains are easy, I've played a couple heroes, and I found like, this is hard. Like when you're a hero, you always feel guilty. Yeah, you're always like vulnerable about something in your past, and you're always like trying to save people, and trying to run around quickly to save everybody, and you're feeling guilty that you're not saving everyone, and all this, oh, it's horrible. But then when you're a villain, you just wait, you just lurk. Wait until you're come by sweating and trying to save people, then you top out of the shadows and pop in the head, and you go home. So yeah, I had to dredge up a lot of like angst whenever I played a hero, but but the evil Spike was easy. When Spike got a soul, then I had to start, dredging up angst, and that was a lot harder. So yeah, I like villains. Plus, villains age well. Like, I want to be the new Count Dooku by the end. Like, Christopher Lee was like 80 years old, like with huge lightsaber fight. I'm like, that's my job.
Thank you.
With your band Ghost of the Robot, out of all the albums, what is your favorite song and why?
Oh, wow. Oh, God. It's like choosing your babies. Oh, wow. Okay, don't tell them, but I think Goodnight Sweet Girl off the first album. I didn't write that one, but I think it's the most heartfelt. It's the most true. Yeah, Goodnight Sweet Girl.
Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, I feel so guilty. Oh, wow. Hey, brother.
Hi, I'm Simon with the Whedonverse Network, so obviously a big fan of Buffy and your work on Angel. The question I had is, when Angel was canceled, how did you find out, and what was your reaction to it?
We were filming actually, and Joss came to the set with his tail between his legs and said, "I am so sorry, I got you canceled. I did it again. I angered my boss." Joss is the nicest guy. He is the best boss I've ever had. He is supportive and patient and kind and loving, but he's also a rebel, and so he's not the best employee in the world. And he often does what he wants to do, and he doesn't necessarily do what the bosses want to do, which is why Buffy was such a good show, why Angel was such a good show. I remember I walked into his office one day, and he was like, "I don't care what you want, they're kissing." Hey! Yes, James, what do you want? What's up? Like, what was that? Josh goes, "Oh, it's all about the lesbian, teenage kiss with Tara. I was just telling him that's going to happen." What's up? But yeah, he, after season 4 of Angel, they told Joss that the show was canceled. And they did it during the summer, which really made it so that this entire crew were going to be unemployed for an entire year. Because if you want to get a new job, you got to get it before the summer starts. The crew has to find a new job, which they can do if they find out that they don't have a job in the springtime. And so basically he thought that he had betrayed his entire crew that year because he didn't get an answer out of the network in time. And then Josh went to the network and said, "If I can get Spike on Angel, can we have, are we canceled?" And they said, "No, if you can get Spike, then we're good." So the show wasn't canceled, and the show, I guess there were a lot of Buffy people that weren't watching Angel, so when I went over to Angel, then a lot of the Buffy viewership came over, and the numbers kind of doubled, and it was like a big hit and everything. And so Josh went to the network about 2/3 of the way through the season. He's like, "Are we canceled now?" And the network was like, "Well, the guy who did ER, this guy named Wells, he wants to do a Dracula treatment, and so he's filming now. And frankly, if that's a really good pilot, we are going to cancel you, even though your numbers are really good this year. We are going to cancel you to go with that. So we're going to wait till the pilot's done and edited, and then we'll know. So just hold on." Josh was like, "Nope, tell me now." And so they said, "Well, if we have to tell you now, you're canceled." So he came in just like, "I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry." And it set up kind of an interesting situation because, Josh really wants to finish the story that he started. And with Buffy, he knew Buffy was over. There was no way it was going forward. So he saved enough money, and he made all the writing, lead up to a really good finish for Buffy, and it all had a nice pop at the end. But for Angel, it was all last minute. There was no money to do it. And so, you know, the idea was, I mean, I thought he actually did a really good job, considering he had no time and no money for it. The idea being that if Angel starts as a true villain when we meet him, in the beginning of his life, and his vampire, then he has to go out the ultimate hero. And so, for Joss, the ultimate heroic act would be to sacrifice your life for other people, even when you know it's a useless endeavor and you're going to lose the fight. You still have to try. So the idea was that you know, Angel and all his angel buddies are going to die that night for sure, but they're going to try anyway. But we could only afford 1.5 seconds of all the dragons and all the people coming out of the thing. It was, so they just dumped rainwater on us all night. What's up?
My name's Anna.
Anna.
Hi. I wanted to ask a less serious question. I just want to know what your favorite kind of food is.
My favorite kind of food is ribs.
Ribs?
Full slab of ribs. And I am married to a vegan. So I'm all about, yeah. What's that?
Maybe vegetarian?
Oh, God. I'm sure they do. And, I'm always going to my wife, what are these for? Sorry. She loves animals, so it's okay. But it's not a problem. Like, I can get my own ribs when I'm home, but when I come off the road, like I come home and it's like soy dogs and stuff. So I'm having meat.
Thank you.
Well.
Hi, Jean. I'm Anna also. Hi, Anna. So I wanted to talk to you about, because you talked about being a subversive artist.
Yeah.
And I wondered what you would point us at as far as what you think is a good, successful piece of subversive art, maybe something that we would have knowledge of or something that we should go check out is what you would recommend.
Great question. Star Wars. Star Wars was thought of. Did we talk about this in the interview?
We did.
Okay. Well, since you asked the question, it's a good example. Star Wars was thought of by George Lucas, obviously, who also thought of Apocalypse Now. Actually, he didn't have time to film it, but he gave it to Francis Ford Coppola. But it was right at the tail end of the Vietnam War, and in Star Wars, the evil empire is us, guys. We are the technological superior culture that is using air power to subdue the population down in the forest, and the good guys are the Viet Cong. And he sold that to the world, you know, like that was a hard point to make. Like, we are bombing their home, guys, and we are not actually facing these people. We're just doing it from the air. And I cannot believe how well that succeeded. You know, subversion is not about trying to make people uncomfortable or trying to make them angry, but it is about divesting the audience of lies that we get taught when we don't really realize we're getting taught lies. And some of the lies can be old people are boring, violence works, you can buy yourself identity. And I was part of a theater company in Chicago and Seattle that actively did that stuff. And I gave it up to make money for my son. I just had a baby boy, and I said, well, I got to give up the whole art thing and go down and sell out to Hollywood. And I came down to Hollywood, and I met Joss Whedon. And suddenly I'm on a deeply subversive show, which is Buffy, which is subverting the idea that women can't defend themselves. And I remember, just to circle back to Star Wars, the only person that I ever met that watched Buffy that didn't like it was one of the original cast of Star Wars. Not Harrison Ford, not Luke Skywalker. But he was, you know, older dude, and he was explaining to me why Buffy was a stupid show. Because no girl that size could defend herself that well. And I turned to this gentleman and I said, you know what, I do a lot of my own stunts. Not all of them, but quite a lot of them. And so I'm fighting the stunt doubles for Buffy every week. And there's 3 of them, and they're all triple black belts, and they can mop the floor with us, dude. It's not about size, it's about training. And he went on and on and on. I went, how tall is Bruce Lee? And he just turned away to the window, and that was the end of it. I never talked to him again. Okay, but the subversive in me was like, thanks. What's up?
So, obviously you like gaming, as you've mentioned.
Oh yeah.
And yesterday when we were in line at your booth, I heard you mention BioShock.
Yes.
I freaking love that game. Which one's your favorite?
Of all 3 of them?
Yes.
it's a toss-up between the first and the third because the first and the third, like, the second one is very good.
Yeah.
But the first and the third were done by the guy who thought it up.
Yeah.
I cannot pick. Because like the first of them is like Ayn Rand in the ocean.
Yeah.
Like Ayn Rand is the woman that thought up the whole,
Return.
what did she say? Like 90% of the population exists to fortify the people who actually make a difference in life. So there's super people and there's all the rest of the people. And like a lot of people buy into this stuff. She wrote Fountainhead and oh God, I hate her. She's dead, so it's okay.
Right there with the friend.
But like, yeah, so the whole thing is like Andrew Ryan builds a city where those rules apply, and then you go visit that place, and it's pandemonium. It's just blown itself apart, and it's fabulous. And then
A lot of people didn't really get into Infinity because they were such big fans of the original BioShock. What was your kind of feeling
Oh,
about
I
that?
fell in
'Cause I
love with
loved
that game.
Infinity.
when you went in Infinity, in the third one, you actually, there's this like a big carnival, and they put a rock in your, or they put a, is it a cue ball in your hand? It's a billiard ball, baseball, and they ask you, do you want to? And there is a interracial couple on the stage, and they say, okay, throw it at them, and you have to make a decision if you're going to pelt this couple with the ball.
I never did.
No, I can't do it. You could do it, and I guess the story plays out similarly. If you do or you don't, but I just can't do the chords. You know?
Well, that's kind of the whole thing is like making the choices. Does it actually affect how your life is going to go?
Yeah, nice essential question. But I mean, like the whole thing is a comment on a racist society, like kind of a Confederate model that transfers itself and makes a whole society built on that philosophy. And what happens if you go that way? Both of those games are just amazing. Yeah, seriously. Yeah. Art, love it. Art. What's up?
Hi, I'm a big fan of your work on the Dresden Files audiobooks.
Thank you, man.
And I was wondering if you have a favorite voice to do when you're reading those, and if there's one that's like particularly challenging for you.
My favorite is Bob. Bob is a disembodied spirit that resides in the skull, but he's a pervert. All he wants to do is escape the skull and go check out the girlies. But he never can. And he's always trying to, he's supposed to say, just let me out one time, I'm going to go to the script bar. Please, hurry. I don't know, whenever Bob is on pages, the pages just fly. We get him right away. I just think he's a delicious character. I think the hardest thing to do is the narration. Because whenever Jim Butcher, who does the books, writes the narration, not the dialogue, but the narration of Harry describing what's happening, he uses the word little on every page, which is actually, to say it correctly is a hard, like most people say little, but if you say little, it actually, the tongue has to do a compression that's very specific, and to do it quickly and make it sound good, it's hard for me specifically to do. And I remember just losing it one day after about the fifth or sixth book, and I said, okay, stop, okay, keep recording, I'm gonna stop reading. Jim, little note to you, buddy, you're a really good writer. Like, you're fabulous. There are other words besides little. Right? Here, I'll give you a few. Minuscule, small, tiny. Use them sometimes. And he never contacted me, but the next book, little was on like 5 times a page. Like, twice in a sentence. And it was just like, he was like, by the way, it's one of my best books. Like, just read them, buddy. I'll do the writing, you read them, okay?
What was your favorite show to do, and what was your favorite scene in it?
Wow, good question. Wow. I guess my favorite show was Buffy. It's hard because I've actually been in a lot of projects that I enjoy a lot. Another one of my favorite was doing a movie about the Apollo 11 moon landing, and I got to play Buzz Aldrin, and that was I'm a space nut. I love a science nut, so that was really fun for me. But I mean, Buffy was the most challenging. Buffy
scared me. And as an artist, you want to be outside your comfort zone. Like, usually when you get a script or an audition for a movie or a play, you can decide before you do it whether you want to do it or not. And sometimes you can read a script and say, I don't want to show that, or I don't want to experience that, or I don't want to be a part of that. And usually when you do a TV show, once you do one episode, it's the same experience every time, which is why some television is not so exciting. But when you work for Joss Whedon, all bets are off. And you never know what that man is going to ask you to do. And by the middle of the 6th season, I didn't want to read the scripts anymore because it was so scary about what he might want me to do. But looking back on it, I'm really proud of it. You know, like to be comfortable as an artist is death. So it was really good to be where I was. It was just not that easy. So I'd say that. And yeah, you will.
Hi, my name is Oak Chatty, and I also love ribs. Right? So you have obviously done quite a different, a bunch of different types of performance, theater, voice work, music, television, all that jazz.
Yeah.
What do you find that each one kind of informs the other? And do you feel like, because whenever I work on different creative projects, I'm always kind of discovering that certain things kind of pop in from something that I did like 5 years ago or something. So do you find it kind of makes you more well-rounded as like a performer in all of your aspects, or is there one that you're sort of like, I guess, more confident or more focused on, or I don't know?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You know, I think you're right. I mean, I think that things do inform each other. Like I remember I was working on a play, Oscar Wilde play, The Importance of Being Earnest. And I'd never done Oscar Wilde before. And we were getting laughs, but I was noticing that like Oscar Wilde is a taskmaster. There is one way to say that line, and if you hit it in the right rhythm, and you hit it with the right stress, it's like pushing a button on the audience's laugh button. Like, laugh right now, and now, and now. And it's amazing. But if you make any mistake and you corrupt that rhythm at all, it falls flat, and you don't get laughs. And it was really scary until I realized, oh, this is like playing a rock concert. Like it rocks until you hit the wrong note on the guitar. And then it's like really jarring. So you just can't afford it. It's like playing music.
Right.
So that kind of helped, you know. And I was like, oh, I know how to do that. I think the thing that I'm most confident is on stage, acting on stage. That's what I've done more than anything else. I started when I was in the 4th grade and just pretty much did plays. I've done 100 plays. It's to the point, when I do a stage play, I'm hoping for something to pretend it didn't happen. And you can't count on whatever plan you had. You have to make it up as you go along. And something kind of wonderful, like the magic happens between the audience and the actor, because we all realize we're actually in the same room together. You know, we just saw the same thing go wrong. Yeah, so that's probably, I'm not bored with theater acting, because really, in theater, it could go wrong at any moment. So there's something inherently dangerous about that. It's like a 2-hour sustained magic act.
Yeah.
And any little thing can make it go wrong. So that's really exciting. But that's the thing that I kind of grew up doing that. So.
Awesome, thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
We had someone briefly touch on Ghost of the Robot.
Yeah.
And as a huge fan of Ghost of the Robot, I was wondering if we can expect another album soon, anytime, ever?
Yeah. Yeah, we are working on the next one right now. Yeah. In fact, see, we're a little hobbled because one of us is in college. Like when the band started, 3 of us were in high school. And then after graduation, 2 of them went on to college. By the time they got out of college, we got another guy who was in high school. And I remember saying to the band, like, guys, we're doing it again, man. We're never going to get out on a full tour. It's hard to record. And the band was like, this guy's a genius, man. We'll figure it out. So we are in the selection process right now, and we're going to start cutting tracks during winter break. Yeah, and our only problem is we have too many songs. So it might be a double album.
If that's the biggest problem you have, then you're pretty good. You just made my little heart smile. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hey, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, I'm doing fabulously well. I'm really talking.
Oh, it's still working. Well, my name is Ulysses, and got 3 questions. One from House on Haunted Hill. Real or fake? That scene when you're jumping on the elevator. 2, between Buffy and Angel series, what was your most memorable blooper that might have happened between those 2 shows?
Yeah.
And the third one, I guess. But
Yeah.
who gave? Actually, the third question is, who gave you the suggestion for the description of Spike? Was it Josh or something that?
Yeah, when you work for Joss, we'd be like, oh, I do it that way? Okay, sure. Yeah, Joss wanted a punk rock vampire. He told me that he wanted the Sid Vicious of the vampire set. And I went up to him, I said, no, you don't. And he goes, what? And he goes, I was like, you don't want, I'm a punk rocker from the 70s. And I was like, okay, Joss, this is Sid Vicious. I saw the documentary. I'll do Sid for you right now.
Girls like me because I've got a nice face and a beautiful figure.
Sid was a moron. Sid was not interesting at all. He could barely play the bass. He didn't play on the album. If he had played on the album, it wouldn't have been a hit. He ruined the tour. He was beautiful. That was it. And I was like, Josh, you want Johnny Rock. You want Johnny Live, man. That's the guy who drove the band. And he was like, whatever, just do punk rock, okay? Yeah, cool, all right, Johnny Rock. God, that's so bad. Sid's dead, I shouldn't do it. It's true. I'm sure he was a great guy, but anyway. But yeah, he wanted that. In the audition for Buffy, they asked me if I did any other accents. And I was like, well, yeah, I do pretty much anything you cast me for. Like, I won't do Chinese very well, but, And they go, well, do you do a Southern? And I was like, yeah, I've got a perfect one for you. I was like, so I did the first one. So you were there, the devil of vampire said he was at Woodstock, was there. The crucifixion was there, it'd been like Woodstock. So that's like an accent that a white person would have only used 150 years ago. And I thought, that's perfect for a vampire. That's great. But Josh was like, yeah, that's cute and everything. No, I want what I want. And I'm glad he said that, because it'd be better. Yeah, the whole thing with House on Haunted Hill, that was all fake. Except we really did ride a roller coaster. You know, that was the Hulk in Orlando. And we got to ride it before anybody else rode it. And I was, Lisa Loeb, who's a musician, was playing the reporter. And she, every time, before every take, she's like, James, I'm definitely going to throw up this time. Every time. We had 5 takes. And like, nope, now it's going to definitely happen. And I just kept saying, Lisa, if you throw up, and you take us off, hose us down, make us up again, we'll be here all day long. Please don't throw up. But like in the Hulk, they have this great trick where they have all this mist on the ground, and the track goes underneath the ground, but because of the mist, you can't see that. So it looks like you're just going to face plant into the ground. So she freaked out really well. But I got to work with Jeffrey Rush. Good questions, man. Yeah. What's up?
I know I talked to you earlier about your roles in Dragon Ball Evolution and Brainiac.
Yeah.
And despite all the negative comments on those, which one would you rather portray again? Like if you could be Brainiac in the new Supergirl show, or would you want another Dragon Ball movie to play Piccolo again?
I would love another shot at Piccolo, man. But I'd like to do it right. Like, Dragon Ball was okay, but it wasn't Dragon Ball Z. It was not anything like the manga or the anime. And I'm a Dragon Ball fan. And I fought really hard to make him like he was. Like, I wanted him to be old and decrepit. because in Dragon Ball, Piccolo is King Piccolo, and he walks like this. He's got a cane. And then in Dragon Ball Z, he transforms. He's like, "Argh." And that's one of the whole points of Dragon Ball is transformation. So it was a 3-picture deal, and I was like, I'm going all the way with King Piccolo, and then I'm going to train like a monster. So the second film, I'm going to come out and just be like.
And did you want him to have the antenna sticking up,
Yes.
or did you like how they had him inside his head?
No, I wanted him sticking up. They didn't want me to be green.
What?
Yeah. Okay, first of all, the first time they made me up, I wouldn't get out of the makeup chair until they made me old. I said, when my girlfriend comes, I don't want her to want to kiss me. And after 14 hours, they finally got it right. And the makeup guy hit me. He's like, "You're done!" I was like, "You're fired!" But the second makeup guy, like I kept saying, older, greener. He's like, "James, the producers don't want to do it. I'm afraid we're going to get in trouble." I said, "The producers ain't here. They don't care. They're not down here in Durango. They're back in Hollywood, man. They don't care. Do it. Blame me. And I'd rather be fired off this picture than not be green." And I went up to the director and I said, you do know that if I'm not green, both of our careers are over, right? And so I fought pretty hard for that, but I'd like to do it right.
First of all, I wanted to say that every time I see you in something, I really like watching it because I can tell that you give it your all, even in things where your role is not so big and things like P.S. I Love You. That's actually one of my wife's favorite movies. I love seeing it. So thank you for that. And I also wanted to say that I was curious because I've seen you on like Smallville doing Brainiac, and when we were watching you on that, I was curious you talked about how much you like gaming, and just now you're talking about how much you like animated manga. I was curious as to how much you actually enjoy comic books on the other side. How much did you know about the character going into that, or where is it absolutely fresh to you?
No, I had the hugest comic book collection when I was a kid, man. Boxes and boxes. I was a serious collector. And then I remember when I went off to college and I sold my collection, I was expected to make a mint. I think he gave me $3. Oh, it's a business, the comic book store. Okay. Yeah, and when I remember Brainiac from the comic books, and what freaked me out about Brainiac was that he was this green monster who was sadistically smiling, but I knew he was a robot. And like, how can you be sadistic if you're a robot? Like, that's really weird. And I remember, doing Smallville, and the version of Brainiac in Smallville is so subtle. Like, you don't know that he's a robot. Clark doesn't realize that he's not just a human being, and they played it that way. And I was like, oh man, I want that freaky, sadistic thing, if we can get it. And I remember strangling Clark in the Fortress of Solitude. I'm like, wait a minute, this is the time. So I was like, well, yeah, I love comic books. I've written a couple comic books. I think, comic books have come to the fore now. A lot of times, when someone has a really good idea for a movie, they'll commission a comic book, and they'll pitch it with the comic book. And they'll just say, here's the storyboard, here's the story, just read the comic book, and you get the movie. I love comic books. They're magic. And you can do whatever you want. There's no budget. You don't have to deal with actors. We're weird. What's up?
Hi, my name's Rachel, and I was wondering, I watched Buffy concurrently for your roles, and when you were doing Buffy for Spike, did you do any improv, and what was your favorite one?
No, we did not do one word of improv. If we got a comma wrong, we went back and got it right. That show was firmly in the control of the writers, and that's why it's a good show. Frankly, if actors get control of a show, it goes off the rails. And it's all about make me look pretty and make me look cool. And when it's in the control of the writers, they always make the actors do stuff they don't want, but ultimately it's much more interesting. So no, we did not improvise anything at all. I have done improvisation for film. The only thing I improvised for Buffy was on Angel. And Joss was directing, and he wanted to do a tracking shot. I forget why, but he was in Wolfram and Hart and was doing a Steadicam shot, and he wanted to arrive on Angel and Spike arguing about astronauts and cavemen. Yeah. But so we had a whole argument going, David and I, which you didn't really hear. You just heard kind of in the background. But I was so proud of what we were saying. My favorite line that I said that day was like, Angel, of course it would be the cavemen when astronauts are very small. They have to fit inside the capsule. They're pygmies, so they lose right away. Which is true. Like, Buzz Aldrin is not that tall. It's a small capsule. They're not going to have a basketball player. There's no football player out. So yeah, that's my big improvisation.
Thank you.
Well, what's up?
On the set of Warehouse 13, who is your favorite character to work with?
Oh, wow. Eddie. Yeah, Eddie McClintock. Really nice guy, really funny guy, very much like his character, but also very professional. I also loved working with Anthony Head. He came on for a couple episodes playing my brother, and it was nice to see him get to play the villain, and for me to be the good guy going, oh, you didn't. Because it was always the opposite on Buffy, and basically, Anthony taught me everything I know about film acting. I came to Hollywood so proud of my acting chops in theater. It took me a while to realize that none of those applied in film. And I had to go back to school, so I went back to the school of Anthony Head. Because I shot a scene with Anthony, my first scene as Spike, and I remember thinking when we were shooting, like, oh man, would you wake up? I'll get you some coffee if I have to, but man, you are doing nothing. I'm going to cream you. I'm going to eat you alive. And then I saw the scene, and he just wiped the floor with me by being simple and honest. And at that moment, I was like, okay, I don't know anything about this. And I would just park a box on the set and watch Anthony work, whether I was called or not. I would just go watch Anthony and watch what he did, and most importantly, what he didn't do. And I learned all over again how to act. So it was really cool to kind of hook up with him again. You're welcome. Is that all the brave people got down? All right, another one.
Hi.
Amen.
I got here late, so forgive me if you've already been asked this, but how does Josh Whedon feel about having anything, like any kind of Buffy direct-to-TV or direct-to-video TV movie on the Sci-Fi Channel, anything like a sequel?
Yeah, okay, there's this problem, which is the Katsuis. They are the reason that we're here today. They produced the movie. And they were the first people to put money behind Joss's idea of a cheerleader who could defend herself. And thank God for it. But they ruined that movie. They didn't get it. They don't get Joss's style. And Joss talked them into getting a cut of the proceeds from the television show, but to have no creative control. And it worked out great. The problem is Buffy blew up into this international success. And so whenever Joss goes back to try to get something off the ground of film, the Katsuis have the rights to because of the original contract for the first movie, they have the rights to every Buffy character in perpetuity to the end of time, to the end of the universe, and that's in the contract. Hollywood contracts are weird. And so they get all excited. They're really good people. They're really nice. They're wonderful. They're married, great couple, everything like that. But they want to get in and help out creatively, and Joss is always like, nah, 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 nah. So it all blows up before it can take off. That being said, life is long. The only thing is, I don't know who'd play Spike. Because Spike is a vampire, and I'm a human being. So, if Josh came to me and said, you want to play Spike? I'd be like, well, how much money is in the budget for computer effects on this thing? Because, they made Legolas look pretty good in The Hobbit, and I could tell that they were doing a lot of computer stuff to make sure that he didn't age. They would have to do more than that on me. But if you want to spend half your money on one face, so I'll go. But otherwise, give someone else a shot. But that was a joke back when we were filming. How long will it be? Nick would say, how long do you think it'll be before they make the Buffy movie? And I would always say, yeah, who's going to play Spike? If it's more than 7 years from now, I'm not going to be me.
Well, they could come up with a plot where vampires age or something. So.
Yeah, thing would be like, Buffy is like, she's gotten older, she's still beautiful and everything, but then Spike shows up and he hasn't aged a day. He's like, hey, baby. I mean, that would be delicious, right?
We have time for one more question.
Okay.
Hi, James. I'm Jamie.
Hey, Jim.
And I was just recently reminded that Anthony Stewart Head played in Rocky Horror, as well as Amber Benson. Fantastic. Have you ever considered with your musical theater background doing Rocky Horror?
No. Well, like a play,
Yes.
not a movie, because the movie was
yeah.
done really, really well. So
Right.
the play, yeah.
Theater.
Wow. I would love to. Yeah, I've never really actually thought about it, but I would love to. The music is so amazing. I grew up in a small town in California where the best thing you could be was a football player with a big truck, and I was a punk rocker. And so all of us punk rockers would get together on Saturday night, put on a dress, and go downtown to see Rocky Horror, and just watch the people go, "What the hell are you doing?" So I love Rocky Horror. It started everything for me. So yeah, do it. Yeah. Guys, you are absolutely fabulous. I love you. I hope to see you